So welcome to episode 3 of Be Cool. So this episode is going to be a little different for the fact that this is actually not live. I know, I'm so sorry, but I actually pre-recorded this video. Right now, actually, today is Thursday and it's like the morning. So it's really weird right now for me because it just doesn't feel right in the sense that I'm used to like going on all of my social media, making sure I posted it, hey guys, this is live right now, and then making sure everything is set because, you know, when it's live, I need to make sure everything's working. But since it's pre-recorded, it's a little different. Plus, I'm not actually going to have Periscope on right now because, again, this is a different day, different time kind of situation. The reason that this is pre-recorded is because, like I mentioned last episode, this weekend I was going to have my family over, and I actually thought of the idea of having them as a special guest, but I wasn't sure if they were going to be very interested in being part of that. They might look at it as like, this is weird, Shima, why are we doing this kind of thing? So I didn't want to put that on them, as well as I didn't want to do it on a Thursday, like I mentioned on last episode, because I want to make sure with these episodes and Be Cool in general, it all falls on the same day and same time, so y'all aren't, you know, handling a roller coaster of random day and times. You actually know Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern, Be Cool will either be live or it will be pre-recorded like it is today. But nonetheless, I thought, hey, I might as well just do it on Sunday at 9 p.m. like always, but I won't be available live. I will be kind of having like, not really a party, but my mother and sister coming into town. They're actually coming today, and on Sunday I plan to have Francis's parents in for dinner, so I'm going to make a Japanese dish called katsudon and have gyoza. And so that's going to be like more of, because this is the first time Francis's parents and a couple of my family members are going to be meeting each other. So I figured, you know, I don't want to make everything cut shortly or have this going on, because like I'm in the living room, so, and I talk pretty loud for this, so I don't want, you know, my mom and sister having to worry about being quiet or Akira freaking out, which you can see her, she is in this blanket hiding from y'all. So anyways, so I apologize, this is not live for y'all, but it's on Sunday at 9 p.m., so yay, this might also be trippy that the light is on right now in the window. So this episode is going to be basically an idea of what type of genres that I started with modeling and where I am now with the genres and the transition that I'm taking my career and things like that. I had to basically think of an episode where I can pretty much just talk the entire time. Since it's not live, I won't have y'all's awesome questions or comments and things like that to keep me, you know, going. So I had to think of something that was going to allow me to talk at least a good chunk of time. In this episode, I'm not even sure if it's going to be the standard hour and a half. It may be even 30 minutes. It may be 45 minutes. So we'll just see how long I can go, and we'll have a blast doing it. So I'm sorry again. Also, if you are watching this on Sunday at 9 p.m. or if you're just tuning in on my YouTube channel or SoundCloud to watch this later throughout the week, please let me know any comments, questions, or concerns that you have towards this episode or prior episodes, or even if you have any comments or ideas for future episodes. I honestly am very open. I really love hearing y'all's thoughts towards certain things of my work, and it helps me in the future for these podcasts that I'm doing. It allows me to understand what you guys enjoy watching as well as hearing, and any other additional things is always an added bonus. So don't feel scared to contact me. I am super nice. I try to respond as quickly as possible. And yeah, you can ask a lot of people because I tend to email a lot of people throughout my day. So no worries. All right, let's begin. Everyone, welcome to episode 3 of Be Cool Saga 2. So for those that do not know me, for whatever random reason by this point, my name is L.Shima and I'm a full-time model. I have been modeling for about 5 years now. It's crazy for me to say that like out loud. over the past 3 days, I actually took over a Snapchat for Booty Optics, which was really interesting. I've never had a Snapchat before. Uh, and so this was my first time, like, I was even asking the creator exactly how to work with Snapchat because I have no idea how it goes. And so it was very interesting. The first day was very awesome. Like, it was like it's a new experience when you try something new. Kyle, you're on here. Oh my god, you do not have to be on here, Kyle. One of the Anyways, okay, so I might get random people that show up on this actual live feed, and it's not actually the actual live feed. But anyway, sorry. Okay, so yeah, I was doing a takeover for Booty Optics over the past 3 days, and the first day, yeah, it was like a new experience. It was something that was, when you go to a new city or a new state or a country, you're like, oh my god, this is amazing. I was answering questions and kind of talking to all these random people on their Snapchat feed, and even recording certain things of my life and certain things like more glamour-y type of aspect, like, doing booty shots and making sure my boobs are uptight and taking little selfies like that, which was fine. I thought it was very fun and different and something that was new for me, which was awesome. The second day kind of still was that sense of that new experience, that high, but it started to trail down, and by the time my last day yesterday taking over, I was just kind of in this mental stage, like, I'm really just exhausted by this point. Kyle, yeah, it's not an emergency. It's a pre-recording episode. I won't be able to make it on Sunday, so don't worry if you have to leave. This will be on Ustream on Sunday at 9 p.m., so this is just a pre-recorded Kyle. It's so awesome that you're actually still on here, though. So yeah, so it was an interesting experience, and I remember the creator was basically telling me, because Booty Optics, if you ever seen the site, or you don't, but if you want to Google it, their name basically describes what their social media is about. It's about pretty much the booty, and it's more showcasing the female attribute of their certain body part, and it kind of is not, I wouldn't say it's sexualized, but it can in some cases. Like, if a certain viewer sees a girl's naked ass, that might be like a hornball, and do what they need to do to release some tension in their bodies. So I understood that, and Booty Optics has been an awesome supporter, and I appreciate all of their work that they've done for me, as well as I was hoping that I would help them out in any case that they would want or need. So hopefully it was a very positive experience for them. It was definitely a positive experience for me. But what I realized, and this kind of is going to relate to the actual topic of this episode, but the last day, he basically mentioned to me that what I was doing was fine. How I handled the Snapchat was kind of how I handle like my Be Cool episodes, or even my Periscope when I was actually doing it quite often, or even just my normal day-to-day life. I dress how I normally dress, so this is actually a little bit more upscale to what I naturally dress. Sometimes I actually will wear this, but realistically, like earlier, I was wearing a turtleneck, and I changed that because I'm like, I don't think y'all really care to see me in a turtleneck. So I took that off for this pre-recording. But in the case that I was taking selfies like, hey guys, but I was also taking videos saying, asking them questions and kind of just letting them know my day was going and just adding like random tidbits. And the creator mentioned that apparently in other people's eyes, not his eyes, like he thought I was doing perfectly fine, but the other viewers that signed into Booty Optics, usually majority of them want one thing and one thing only, and I wasn't giving them that. And so that was one of the minor issues that the creator noticed, and thought that, if I came on for future showings and things like that, it's something to keep in mind. So this happened on the last day. I already had not the best photo shoot in the world, just the idea of what went on and things like that. And I was like, all right, fine, I'm completely understand. I'm not taking it heartfelt or anything like that, but I'll go when as soon as I get home. I'll take a lot of selfies and a lot of photos for the ones that are like really disappointed that they didn't get what they asked for or wanted. So I took the moment, put on like little undies and bras, and it's actually implied the last bit. So like I had no bra on, but I wasn't gonna show nips on Snapchat. I honestly don't. That's not me. Like, from what y'all might notice on my Be Cool episodes or certain other things, my actual personal life, like this is me right now, is a little different than my photos, my modeling side. They are the same person. I'm the same person when I go to the photo shoots and when I'm posing and stuff like that, but there's like a little switch or knob that I turn on and off depending on if it's a personal situation or if it's a work-related situation. And so I felt totally fine doing the selfies and implied nudes for the Snapchat, but realistically, it wasn't as fulfilling or exciting as I was hoping for, or something that I, was like always looking up to, like, yeah, I'm gonna take some selfies and do some implant nudes. Like, it wasn't that feeling anymore, and that's what I'm transitioning out of. So, that brings up literally this topic. When I started modeling 5 years ago, I started doing artistic nudes and glamour. I had no issues. I love the not female, but the human body. I am appreciative towards my body, and I think it's something that should be looked down upon and not down. All right, I'm thinking of the wrong words, but you know what I mean. I think everyone should not be scared of a naked, undraped body. People should see it and be like, that's a glorious thing. They shouldn't also immediately quick to judge or quick to jump to it being sexualized. But, I mean, we're human beings and we're animals and we tend to think of things sexually. It's totally fine. I completely understand. But there's an idea that I think it should be looked at as an art sense. And so when I did artistic nudes, that was awesome for me. And I still enjoy doing those sometimes, but that's how I started. Now, the difference between artistic nudes and any other type of nudes, so like glamour nudes, things along those lines, artistic nudes, you're using your body as an art piece. So with glamour nudes, imagine I'm naked. I'm sure this is y'all's favorite part. But imagine I'm naked, completely undraped. And the glamour nudes would be, me pushing my chest up and pulling my shoulders back, tilting my head in a certain direction that makes the light more flattering and giving more of a seductive face. And then if you can see my full body, you would see that the ass is out, the stomach is sucked in, and then the legs are also in an attractive stance. That's more of a glamour. It's more of a sex appeal, something that you're gonna see the photo and you're like, hot damn, that girl is fucking fine, or that guy is fucking fine, whatever the sex is that is posing for the glamour nudes. That kind of goes on with the regular glamour. So even if it's glamour, clothed, lingerie, or nude, it kind of all works the same way. Your, chest is out, stomach sucked in super much, and your ass is kind of out a little bit. Artistic nudes is you're not necessarily having your body proportioned like that, so you can, but it's in the case that, like, you kind of want more unattractive positions or poses, and the idea that it makes interesting lines and shadows, and just it makes the viewer say, that's a really unique pose or position that this model is in, and they might love it to the point where they actually will hang it on a wall. So in the case with an artistic nude, imagine I'm completely naked, but I would be more of in a hunched out position in an interesting, like, I still might arch my back, but like my face is more covered, and like just body parts are a little bit more, unique and different, and something that you wouldn't really see in a glamour photo. So that's how I started. I actually started doing figure modeling, and that's how I actually met Francis and other artists and stuff like that. But I started with figure modeling, and I was comfortable with nudity. I also did glamour, which, like I mentioned, is exactly what that is. And I've done that for at least, honestly, for at least 5 years of my entire career, pretty much. And I was fine with that, especially in the beginning. It was an experiment, like I mentioned. It was something new. It was a new high. I got to meet all these photographers, got to travel to all these places, and I'm not gonna lie, honestly, nudity sells, sex sells, and so when it came to doing photo shoots, especially when I was traveling, a lot of photographers will really more pay for nudes and sometimes glamour, which is fine. And so that was awesome. I would be able to go to California and bank $1,500 in a week's time shooting nonstop nudes and glamour. It was awesome. I felt like pretty much rich for like a short period of my life. And it was an experience that I would never take for granted, and I also would never regret. There's tons of photos of me online that you can see right now that are very sexualized as far as glamour goes, very cheesy as far as nudes go, and it's just not the most flattering photos of me. But they're there, and it's something that's part of my career. You can even go on my Tumblr and there's nudity there. I'm not deleting my nudes or my glamour. They're there, and I'm still constantly actually still posting nudes and glamours. Not as much because I don't have as much content anymore, but I'm still kind of producing a little bit. I'm not afraid to show that off. It's something that I did in the past, and I'm not regretting it whatsoever, and I appreciate where I came from and how, it got me to where I am now. Because honestly, if I wasn't doing glamour or nudes and I just strictly did fashion or even like fitness modeling, I would be in a whole different career right now. I probably wouldn't have a podcast, maybe, I don't know, I actually probably would, but it would be a whole, like, you might not be the fan that you are now, because some people aren't really into fitness modeling, while some other people are, so I would have a different crowd of supporters that I have now, and that's one of the things that I also appreciate. With me starting out with glamour and nude photography, or nude modeling, it allowed me to open the gates to a variety of different fans. And those people were either like the Snapchat situation. They were either there for one thing and one thing only, to see me naked and see me sexified, or they were the ones that ended up being my supporters because they realized of my true being and they appreciated my transition and watching me succeed in my career and being part of that succession and things like that. So that was one of the hard things that I'm still kind of overcoming, because I'm transitioning myself into the fashion route. I'm shooting more clothed type of imagery, plus the idea of having more makeup artists, hairstylists, wardrobe stylists, or designers, having a whole team involved. You can still have a whole team involved with like glamour and sometimes maybe artistic nudes, or even nudes in general, but it's a little different when it's like a fashion lifestyle kind of editorial type of sense, because you can still have a makeup artist and a hairstylist, and even you can have like a lingerie designer and things like that, but it's still just, it's not as, what's the best way to say this? There's just, you can have more people involved with the fashion route. So you can still have like even a set creator for a glamour shoot, but you don't see them as often, especially as an independent model. You rarely ever see a huge team for a very glamoury nudist or nude type of photo shoot. Not saying it can't happen. There's times when it can happen, as long as you keep your calendar super open and or you're working with scheduling properly. But realistically, it just is a little more time consuming to handle a fashion shoot. With the sense that, say it's just me and the photographer. That happens. Again, being an independent model, you watching America's Next Top Model is nothing like what my life is like. I watch that show now. I started back I forgot, not that I forgot, but I wouldn't watch it for a while, and so I'm starting it back up. And so just watching that show is just very interesting to me, being a model, but being independent and not having an agency for me, and not having these glamorous light setups, and to the point where, like, the photographers are not even touching their own camera because they have assistants that can do it for them. Like, it's crazy to watch this show and then have a shoot yesterday that is nothing like that. So majority of my shoots, either it be glamour, nude, or fashion, it's usually just me and the photographer. When it comes to that, usually I do my hair and my makeup, and with glamour and nudes it's easy. You just show up. You have to make sure you're not wearing any tight clothing prior to the shoot, so you don't have like those lines on your body, and you just go, pretty much. Make sure you're freshened up and stuff, but you just pretty much go. With glamour, it's still kind of the same situation, but you still have to make sure you have a wardrobe, but it's either lingerie pieces, stockings, you might have like booty shorts, tank tops, things along those lines that kind of scream sex appeal. And then you have fashion, which also can scream sex appeal. Like you can have a very nice deep V-neck top and like, off-the-shoulder dress or things like that. But it requires more planning and more items that you may need to bring if you don't have a team involved. So usually, how I'm handling it now, the best example of what I went through trying to now transition into more fashion was my trip to New York, or to the East Coast. I went with a fellow model, and her wardrobe was how I handled it in the past countless times, and a lot of models handle it this often. They usually just grab one or two duffel bags or suitcases and just grab little items throughout their closet and just throwing it into the bag. So they have a bra, a black bra, a red bra, a white bra, panties. Oh, here's a cool sweater. Let me just grab that one. Oh, this is nice pants. Let me grab these pants. Oh, yeah, definitely all these shoes. Let's just grab it and throw it in the bag. I did that. Every model has done that. It's to the point where it's easy because you have the shoot, you have kind of maybe the idea of the type or style of shoot you're about to do, so you're just grabbing individual items in your closet and throwing them in the bag because it's easy to do that for us. It takes like 10 minutes to do, and then you get to the shoot and you have all your stuff and you're pretty much technically ready. But, and this is what I realized when I got into it more deeply, you have this huge bag or even double bags of just stuff. Like unorganized, cluttered stuff. And you bring it to the photographer and you're pretty much just turning the bag upside down and dumping it on the table or ground. So then you have a pile up of all these clothes or items. And they're looking at it, and other models handle it differently than I did, but I suck at describing my wardrobe. Like, I'll be like, this is, it's a phone, it's black, and that would be it. So if I'd be like, yeah, it's a sweater, it's black, this is like a tube top, and it's gray. So I would be horrible at describing it, so I'd feel bad for the photographers because they would have no idea what this stuff looked like. They're just seeing this two-dimensional type of fabric that's just hanging by your fingers, and you're trying to kind of showcase it a little bit to get them idea. So these poor photographers are trying to figure out, all right, well, that looks like that might work kind of thing, but otherwise a lot of them are also more like, I don't give a fuck. Put on what you think is best and we're going to shoot this, because that's the one thing that they're not worried about as much. So with that experience, I decided, all right, I'm going to try to start pre-planning my wardrobes. And I'll get into it another episode, but I'll showcase kind of how I handle and what it looks like for me to organize my outfits. But usually for a fashion shoot, it's more helpful for me to have a pre-planned look of a variety of different outfits planned out for the shoot. And so I usually take the time. It usually takes probably about an hour of my day to line up the clothes that I'm interested in shooting in, and then piecing that with, so if I have a pleated white skirt that I really like and I know it looks really good, well, what's another top that I can use that I may have not shot before, or something that, is a little bit different and will match the style that the photographer and I want to work with on this imagery. So I'll start doing that and piecing with, necklaces and earrings and shoes and things along those lines. And then once I have all of the looks together, I will then take the wardrobe, put it on my body, and take little selfies or like photos, candid photos of me and the looks, and send that to the photographers so they know what it's going to look like and what it's going to look like on my body. So that's very helpful with fashion, because how I handled that with me traveling to the East Side back in May, June, I literally, am not kidding, I took about 20 individual photos of 20 different looks that I had. And all of them were on my body, and I emailed certain photographers certain different looks based on what we described how the shoot was going to turn out. And right before I left, I had a list of all the clothes that I needed to have packed. So I had this huge suitcase filled with 20 individual looks. Huge. While my friend had a good amount of, luggage herself, but it was not as big as what I brought. And that was because I was doing 20 clothed fashion looks, while she was doing more, she would do like fashion type stuff too, but it was more also like lingerie and individual pieces that she had that she needed to take photos for. And so that was just the different side between what is involved with fashion and what is involved with more either lifestyle or even glamour type of modeling. There's a huge amount of clothing that is involved with fashion. Now, fashion, you can also still do nudes. I mean, it's kind of gets complicated in a sense of there's so many different directions. Like, there's different genres, but sometimes they intertwine with each other, and they can, have each other's back sometimes, while other times they're, like, so far away from the spectrum. So with fashion, I can have nudes, so I can have this really, manly blazer that's covering pretty much all the way to my knees, and be kind of implied nude, or even nude in general, where, my breasts are out, but it's more in a unique fashion-y type of way. So I'm not, sticking my chest out really wide and arching my back and sticking the ass out. I'm more getting in a more fashion pose where it's a little bit more selling the blazer more than selling myself. And so that's kind of the general idea towards fashion. You're usually selling the items that are on your body, and you are just the subject that is holding them. While glamour, you're more selling you. Not in a sexual tense. I mean, it can be sexual if you look at it that way, but you're just more selling, I'm a sexy person, and I want you to look at me and me only. And while artistic nudes is probably more along the lines of, it's just an art piece, something that you can see hanging on anyone's wall, something that makes you question what's happening in the photo, things along those lines. And I think that's actually a very interesting, sorry, I just had thought about it. So that's where I'm now taking my career. And it's weird because, other than Kyle, it's weird to kind of be on this episode and have nobody on it during this actual me live recording this right now, but y'all are watching this pre-recorded. It's weird because usually I'll have y'all talk and ask questions and things like that, which is fine. It's trying now, I feel like right now I'm rambling. Because I'm trying to make sense of every word that I say prior to saying it, but then on top of it, I'm like, wait, I have to go in and out, in and out. Anyways, so I started with nudes and glamours. I'm still totally fine with it and everything like that. And the issue is, like, I had a shoot yesterday, and the photographer was nice. He was awesome. He wasn't anything, I mean, there's moments where, like, there were statements that I was like, okay. But overall, he was a really sweet guy. And it was in his house, which I've always done shoots where, sometimes you can't afford, photographers can't afford their own studio, or, you know, the weather's horrible, so they have a setup in their house, which is totally fine. But he kind of still wanted to do more of that, like, glamour lingerie type of shoot, which was totally fun. And he also wanted to shoot not only lingerie, but, like, I had a long sleeve dress that I wore. So it still involved clothes, but it was more having a sex appeal. So I'm selling myself more than I'm selling the dress. And by the time I was done with the shoot, I had this feeling of it's just one of those days where it's just like, I'm going to work and that's the only thing about it. Like, and oh no, you're fine, Kyle. And I'm not trying to be rude. And again, the photographer was awesome. The shoot overall was great. It's just this idea that I had. I've done it for 5 years, and it's kind of boring now. I've done it so often that it's not fulfilling. It's the same thing over and over and over again. The only things that really change is the photographer and the location. But otherwise, it's the same thing I'm constantly doing. That's as if you're, you know, working an office job and you're just filing papers all day long. Like, the first few times, it's like, oh, okay, this is cool. Like, this is easy. This is normal. I'm getting paid for this. This is awesome. This is whatever. But then you're doing it for 5 years straight. Not every day, but often. It's just like, all right, I need something different with my life right now. And again, I'm not saying it because I feel like some people will see this and be like, well, Shima, you're just seeming like a spoiled brat or something. No, honestly, I appreciate the glamour modeling and even the artistic nudes and things like that. But I, as my own individual self-being, am kind of bored with that genre of modeling. I know there's tons of other models that will shoot from the day they die in that type of aspect, and I give them so much props for being able to do that for the rest of their lives. But me personally, I've kind of been burnt out with it. I've done it so often, and it's really nice to the point where, like I mentioned earlier, usually glamour and nudes pay. I honestly have never gotten paid for a fashion clothes shoot. I've been fortunate once that I got paid from the photographer, but I went into the shoot expecting it to be trade, and he just happens to give me money at the end of the shoot. And it wasn't even my rates. Like, it was a few dollars technically, like, kind of for gas. And it was so awesome and so sweet of him to do. Like, I was not expecting it. I didn't ask it for him. But he just happened to give me money, and I was like, oh, this is awesome, thanks. Like, I appreciate it. That was honestly the first and last time I actually got paid for a fashion clothes shoot. For freelancers or for independent models, our job pretty much succeeds based on glamour and nudes. You can ask any independent model, any of them, and I follow a good amount of independent models. They get paid mostly for nudes. That's the highest rate that we can offer is nudes. And my nude rate now is expensive. I'm not going to lie to you. It's expensive. If a photographer can afford my nude rate, I look at them, I'm like, that's awesome. I appreciate it. That's crazy. If you really want to spend that much money on me, it's because that I'm slowly decreasing the amount of nude photo shoots that I have, that's why my rate is significantly higher. And I tell photographers that all the time. I give them my clothes rate, my lingerie rate, and my nude rate. And lingerie nudes are all or lingerie and clothes are like similar. They're almost like $10 different or something like that. But then you look at the nude one and it's like almost $100 more. And it always like with asterisks. So I'm decreasing the amount of nudes, so this is why it's significantly higher. Like, I give them a warning, like, this is why it's like that. I'm not just throwing some fucking arbitrary number at you. This is the reason why. Because I know a lot of people can't afford that, and it's the idea that if I overcharge, I won't shoot it as much, which is nice. It's kind of one of those things. But then you might find a couple of, strands that are like, I can afford that. I can afford that for 5 hours even. I'm like, So, but when it comes to paid works as a freelance model, for me, again, disclaimer of any kind for anyone that is new or anything like that. This episode or even this podcast, if it's just a me by myself, everything I say is based on my opinions and my experiences. So if you're trying to get any ideas or kind of getting an understanding for modeling, don't just listen to me. Go ask other models, especially other models in different genres, different looks, different ages, things like that. Because this is what has worked and hasn't worked for me. So I don't mean to, hurt anybody's feelings or anything like that. Everyone's opinions are different, so there might be a model that completely disagrees with me, and that's totally fine. But don't just, say my thoughts are set in stone kind of thing. But realistically, my earnings as a freelance independent model, I tend to have to go to shoots where it's work. It's just I'm going and getting paid for it. That's awesome. I get to pay for my rent. I get to pay to make sure I'm feeding my dog and feeding myself. But realistically, there's nothing fulfilling about it. I'm just there. I got to do a lot of schmoozing with the photographers, which is fine. I like talking to people. I find it very fascinating to meet unique individual artists and kind of getting to pick their brains and just being able to add to my list of I met so-and-so once, or I know this person, or I've worked with this person, or I went and traveled to this city. I love being able to do that. But during a time when it's just me and the photographer's paying me, it's there. That's all I gotta say, really, honestly, and it's fine. And I enjoy it, but at the same time, I'm like, I wish there was more to it, and that's why I'm transitioning to the more fashion route. I am making myself work a lot more harder in the sense where I got to prove to a lot of people that I can do it. People see my size and they're like, "Shh, girl." Are you brain dead? You can't do fashion. You're too glamour modelly. Like, you can't do that. All right, you say I can't. I say I will. I'm going to try to prove you wrong. Even if it takes me 10 years, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'll be a 10 years from now, I'll be a 33-year-old successful fashion model. Don't know that yet. But that's kind of the idea where I'm getting with it. And it's the idea that, I'm working harder because I'm also, shooting, taking an hour, 2 hours out of my day, planning all these different wardrobes and shooting photos of them with it on me so I can send it to photographers so they know exactly what it looks like. Plus that, now I'm getting more involved with planning out photo shoots. So finding a set director or a photographer that knows how to properly organize a set. So having crazy backdrops with interesting, unique objects, or being in a certain location that gives off this interesting aspect in a photo, handling with makeup artists and hairstylists with an added bonus if I can get one. It's kind of always one of the harder ones to get, is finding a wardrobe stylist or a designer. Usually, if I don't have one, that gives me the added job to go to thrift stores and start buying certain items that would work for the photo shoot. One day maybe I'll be able to go and buy a new wardrobe from Macy's and then shoot in it and then go return it. I know that is something that a lot of wardrobe stylists do, but I haven't hit that part in my job as far as finding clothes for myself. But in that idea that I'm trying to more organize and get a more well-developed, pre-planned shoot together. And a lot of my inspiration for things like that is like Echo Nidalito and how Hattie Watson has transitioned into her career. She was doing a lot of glamour and artistic and a lot of nudes too, but then you look at her more recent stuff and she's doing similar things to Echo Nidalito. They're shooting more raw, edgy, interesting, unique, having designers and jewelry people and things along those lines provide for their shoots, and it gives us more unique, interesting type of imagery that I'm looking towards. And not only even in that case of those two girls being my example, but then there's also a model now, fashion owner now, whatever else she does, Adrienne Ho, she does more of a lifestyle fashion. So you have the higher fashion where it's like more Echo Nidalito and where Hattie Watson is trying to take her work. But then you have more of the lifestyle, which is Adrienne Ho, where she's really more trying to sell her brand, but she does it in a sense where it's like an athletic kind of sense. So she's wearing like tights with running shoes and a sports bra and a jacket, but it's more of a sense where it's like almost candid. It seems as if she's like in the moment about to go run and she's having this photo shoot done. And it's the idea that I like that simplicity of just going out on the street and just shooting stuff as if it was, a standard editorial for, like journalistic imagery. And I like that, but I also like the high fashion type route. So that's where I'm trying to take both of my, that's where I'm trying to take my career, is to both of those type of genres. And that's why it's nice to finally actually talk about it, because a lot of people have asked me, some people are like, do you feel ashamed that you shoot all these nudes for basically no satisfaction in a case? Or are you fine seeing all these nude photos of you when you're like 50? Or some people giving me shit about me just in general being naked. But being able to say, hey guys, I did it. I know I did it. I think I did it successfully in my best, interest, in my best ways, and I do not regret anything that I've done in my past as far as, nudes and glamour goes. Like, I don't regret any second of my life, honestly. I'm looking back right now, and I'm happy that I did what I did, because I wouldn't be here right now. Akira wouldn't probably be sleeping with me right now, because I wouldn't have the money from all those shoots or something. I don't know. But anyways, and to be able to look further in my career and say, I accomplished a new obstacle in my career, tackling on the fashion route, being 5'3" and around 120, 130, depending on what's a good day for me, pounds, and being very busty and curvaceous, and being able to rock that is amazing. And a lot of people have also asked me, do I plan to do this for the rest of my life? Or, when, 30 years comes around, my body is going to start slowly dying on me. Like, my boobs might sag and my skin might wrinkle and things like that. How is that going to relate to my modeling in that sense? And that's true. We're humans. Thank you, Kaya. You have faith in me. I really appreciate it. We're humans. Our bodies don't last as long as we would hope for. I'm not looking into doing plastic surgery or anything like that. But in that case, but in the idea that, with my body or all of our bodies slowly deteriorating, glamour modeling honestly can only last for a certain amount of time. Honestly. I mean, unless you really start getting Botox and your skin looks almost like it will hurt if it stretches one inch. But realistically, glamour can only last a certain amount of time. Artistic nudes can last for an eternity. Artistic nudes, as long as you're comfortable with your body, artistic nudes can go for years and years and years. There's certain photographers that might not want to shoot like an 80-year-old woman, but then you have figure modeling. You can ask Francis. He's always looking for interesting, unique human beings that are either older or have really fascinating, not your stereotypical body type and things like that. So artistic nudes can go forever as long as you want to make it. And then fashion. Nowadays, fashions is changing a little bit. It's still in its standards, but it's kind of getting a more added bonus to certain unique individuals that are changing the game. So fashion will always usually be very tall, 5'10" size or height people, or women at least, and 6'2" men. But usually they're all very slender and sleek. And I understand that reason. A lot of people fucking hate fashion for this sense. Well, why do you gotta hire size 0, 12 feet tall, human beings? As a designer that I've designed my own stuff, I completely understand why it's like that. It's because, like I mentioned, fashion, you're selling the clothes. You're not selling yourself. So when you have a size 0 human being, I don't recommend people being size 0. That's really, really tiny. But and the idea that the clothes needs to pretty much, good morning, the clothes basically need to outshine the rest of the body. So if you have a curvaceous woman that is rocking, a jumper, like a romper, so it's the piece that's like, a top and pants all in one kind of thing, you're going to be more starstruck towards that person's body more than the actual outfit. No matter how crazy the outfit is, you're going to be really more looking and focusing on the person that's wearing it, if they're very more curvaceous or bigger or things along those lines, versus if it's a person that is a size 0 and it's 12 feet. Okay, obviously if they're 12 feet, you'll be like more amazed at their height. But the average, tall size, you'll more see the clothes before you see this really tiny, tiny, tiny person. So with that idea, that's always going to be a standard no matter what. But, we have, like, I'm trying to think of a model's name, and I can't think of one. Like, for honestly an example, Tyra Banks, she's actually very voluptuous. Like, she's very curvaceous. There's other ones I'm trying to think, and I can't think of other fashion models on the top of my head. But nonetheless, there are models that are kind of changing the game in the fashion route, and I want to be part of that. I want to experience that, hey, just because I have breasts, and they're very well-developed breasts, doesn't mean that I can't do certain things. Now, I know with my height, being 5'3", I'm not going to do runway. I don't want to do runway. I'm not interested in doing runway, and it's not an issue for me whatsoever. But that doesn't mean another 5'3" female can't do runway, or even a male can't do runway. So if it's something that they want to get and they want to earn it and they want to work really hard for it, do it. But yeah, I feel like this episode I was morally rambling, and it's a pre-recorded episode, so I'm sorry. I was just trying to make sure I could, kind of talk for a while. It's already been like 45 minutes, so obviously I was able to do that. There are a couple people that actually are on Ustream right now, like live as I'm talking. And Kyle asked, that hasn't changed since you've been here in Michigan. I do believe, Kyle, you were relating that towards my rates. So, my rates actually have not really changed since I moved to Michigan. My rates only change when I feel like my portfolio has significantly changed in comparison to the last rates. So obviously, say my rate, we'll use we'll use nudes. So say 3 years ago, I had the portfolio I did. My rate was probably around like $80 per hour. I honestly can't remember, but I'm just throwing a random number. My rate was around $80 per hour 3 years ago for nudes. That wasn't the case because I wasn't working with the best. I'm not saying the best because I worked with a lot of great photographers back then. But, like, I didn't have a awesome portfolio that made me say, wow, that's an awesome amount of nude images. Like, that looks fantastic. That makes my portfolio look awesome. Bam. So that's why I probably charged $80, just because it was kind of like there was a good amount of nude photos in there, but I can improve better. I can get a lot more interesting, unique photos from that point in the future. So I charged $80 because I felt like that was right. Now, add a year from that, it probably went up from $80 to $100. In the case because I shot with a good amount of new photographers that gave me these new images that actually really added to my portfolio. So it's really kind of one of those situations where it honestly is an arbitrary number. Models are getting these random rates. It honestly is arbitrary, but it's what they feel is best works for, or what they feel is best works for their brand. So obviously if my portfolio was shit, I would not charge the amount of money that I charge. The portfolio where it's at now, I feel like it's kind of been the same style ever since I left Florida, so I felt like there's no need to change it because it's been working. And also one of the things that you'll notice when, if you're a model or even a photographer, photographers do it too, but you'll notice that lost my train of thought because I was reading your comment, Kyle, so I was like, oh, let me read this real fast while I'm talking. Awesome. I forgot it. Well, nonetheless, He wasn't even asking about that question, so I'll go back to what you were actually asking for that. Kyle, not the rates, but more the professional aspect of it, officially it being profitable. So you're talking about has my professional aspect towards modeling has changed, or sorry, you might have to elaborate. Sorry, I'm just trying to catch on real fast. There's like a little delay that I know from the actual feed on Ustream versus what it's actually happening to me right now. So I know he's probably typing right now, or he might not be, but I'm imagining he's typing right now, and so I'm waiting. No worries. I'm trying to think if there's like another added bonus that I can talk about, and if I remember what I was talking about with money, but I don't remember. I don't remember at all. Anyways, so how's everybody's day? Being actually wanting to pay too. So, okay. Has it changed since I've been here to Michigan, being actually wanting to pay? I still don't understand. I might have it's morning now for me right now. It's a little... Okay, so hold on. So your first question was that hasn't changed since you've been here in Michigan. Not the rates, but more the professional aspect of it, officially it being profitable, being actually wanting to pay you. Oh, so you're talking about, like, has it changed being in Michigan? More people are offering to pay for either clothed, styled shoots or even glamour, damn buttons, or even like glamour and stuff. I'm gonna try to assume that's what you mean. So Michigan has been interesting. I even when I first moved here, went to interview with an agency, a local agency in the Detroit area that's apparently supposed to be like one of the agencies, and I didn't even contact them. They contacted me. Anyways, that's probably another episode I might talk about, but it ended up not working out. And so what they basically told me, though, was a majority of Michiganders, such a weird state name. Anyways, a lot of Michiganders, majority of their jobs that they offer are usually for like the girl next door type of thing. And apparently I didn't match that visual. Like apparently just because I have tattoos, I'm too rock and roll for the girl next door. So anyways, when it came down to, if I got paid more for clothes shoots versus nude and things like that, just moving to Michigan, it honestly hasn't changed. It's been the same. I don't shoot as much. Like, honestly, I had a shoot yesterday. Before that shoot, and that was a paid shoot. Before that shoot, I had a shoot a week prior, and that was just like a quick impromptu shoot. And then before that shoot, so before 2 weeks ago, the last shoot I had was 2 months ago. 2 months ago. And there's tons of independent models that I'm shooting like almost every single day. It hasn't changed since I've been to Michigan. What I've realized with me getting finances for what I do for modeling, it requires me to travel, which I'm fine. I love traveling. But me and Francis only have one car. I can't do the road trips like I used to do. And the only time I will be able to fly is if it will be financially, I'll be able to pay for my plane ticket and be basically able to be reimbursed. Like, I want to make sure, like, if I'm going to go to LA, I want to make sure that it will be financially best for me to go to LA versus me going to, like, Europe and things like that. So with me getting paid, I definitely need to travel more. Michigan hasn't really offered me much jobs. It happens. When you sit in one state, in one city, you're not going to get as much jobs because there's not a lot of photographers in that small area that you're in that like your style, like your face, or overall just can afford you in that sense. I've had tons of Michigan photographers contact me and ask me, about shooting and things like that. And I give them my rate, and they can't afford me. And I understand. I'm not, like, taking a butthurt or anything like that. If you can't afford me, don't worry. I know it. I can't afford photographers. Like, I understand. I'm trying to make a business and make a living off my career. You're trying to just survive and make a living off of your career of whatever you're choosing. So I completely understand. So I haven't seen much change with shooting or getting paid in general with Michigan. And nonetheless, I haven't seen any change with me getting paid for more fashion type of imagery imagery or photo shoots when moving to Michigan. Like I said, the last time and first time was 3-4 years ago in LA, and it was just a random moment where I wasn't expecting to get paid for a fashion shoot. And honestly, it was actually not even that fashion. I mean, it was fashiony, but it was still more glamour than anything else. So it's really interesting. There have been moments where, like, and it was weird, I almost got a job to shoot for this huge production in Chicago. They were going to pay me a certain amount, but it ended up not working out. If that would have happened, it would have been my first legit actual job. Because a lot of the jobs that I've had haven't been, not saying they're not legit or they're not professional, but they're not what you would see on America's Next Top Model. They were just the photographer and me shooting certain imagery for a photo shoot. Versus America's Top Model, you have like a huge background, you have the photographer, you have their assistants, you have the retoucher, you have the wardrobe, hairstylist, and makeup artist. You have all these other people that you don't really know what their job is, but you know, whatever. Bye, see you later. And so I haven't had that experience where I was able to say, oh my god, this is like an America's Next Top Model gig. It has not happened. The closest was probably where I was going to I was possibly going to be featured in the Donk magazine. It's like those car riding magazines. And honestly, it was just me, the photographer, and like he was like the creative director or something like that. So it was like only 3 people. I had to do my makeup, hair, and wardrobe. So that was probably the closest, like, this is an actual setup kind of thing. Unfortunately, I think I did get paid a certain amount, but realistically, the actual production, like what the images were going to go towards, didn't happen. They were supposed to go towards in the magazine. That didn't happen. And so it was one of those things, even if I did have like a production, it never worked out. And so it's just an interesting experience, but I'm excited to take this adventure into fashion, and I appreciate y'all, these supporters, the ones that actually watch these episodes and are very communicative towards my social media, constantly, you know, tweeting me and emailing me and things like that. I honestly really appreciate y'all, because y'all are the ones that I knew you caught on to my stuff when I was doing glamour and stuff like that. But y'all are still here and supporting me with this new transition. I know a few people are like butthurt about it. They're like, aw, kind of thing. They're like the people on Snapchat. They're like pissed off that I wasn't shooting the kind of content that they wanted. But those are the people I don't want to have. Those are the people that only last for a certain amount of time. They're like the fake people. They're the ones that are just like, you're just here for your beneficial thing that you want. And I will only last in your radar for maybe a month, if anything. So nonetheless, my voice is starting to hurt, or my throat is starting to hurt. I don't think voice actually hurts. But I'm going to say my dues to y'all. And again, sorry that this wasn't live on Sunday at 9 p.m. This was pre-recorded. I know a couple of y'all were able to catch it technically live right now. But for those that didn't, I am sorry again that this is not live. But next episode, so episode 4, will be live, and I'm going to try to get a special guest that day. I don't know if I want to get somebody local here in Detroit so they just come here, or I might have to order, because I have a Mac and I have an extra monitor that I need, but that's a PC monitor, so I have to have this certain connector to make that work so I can have a dual screen. So I have to buy that if it's going to be a special guest online. But I have to think about it. I don't know yet. But hopefully episode 4 I'll have a special guest. But nonetheless, next episode will be on Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern. It should be live, and no worries. So thanks everyone, and thank you, Kyle, for being part of this. And making it not very quiet. And I hope y'all have an excellent night, day, whatever time you're watching this. And yeah, so toodles everyone, and see you later, alligator.